I can change, I'm willing to change, and I want to change, that's when the real shift happened. Your 20s is so blah.
Cash out on a video, cash out to see the rodeo, put on a show and make it nasty.
Hi, my name is Ducette and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is a get ready with me while I talk about things I wish I knew in my 20s. Turned 30 this year and I've been reflecting on all of the things I wish I knew in my 20s that I know now, all of the lessons that I've learned throughout my 20s, and I wanted to share that with you guys. So if you want to see that, go ahead and keep on watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy this video. I wrote some notes of the topics that I want to touch on, so let's start with let's start on our makeup. Be using these two primers. For the first lesson, therapy has been the best thing that has happened to me. Go to therapy and go to therapy early. I have been in therapy for 2 years now. It's my second time going to therapy. My first time through my job. It was like that wellness program that some jobs do, where you do like 8-10 sessions for, you know, whatever you're going through. At the time, it was because I was grieving. I had a friend that had passed away, and that loss hit me really hard. I have dealt with depression for most of my life, and at that time it was really bad, because I was grieving, and then there were, you know, life was just lifing. I was, I think, 24. She had recommended that I take medication, and that would have probably helped me. Now that I think about it, I didn't, and I stopped seeing her. I quit that job seeing her, and I didn't go back to therapy, like I said, until I was 28. I was having a really hard time again. I was finishing up my master's degree. I had a job that I hated. I saw her once a week in the beginning for about a year and a half, and then I went down to every other week. Sometimes I only see her once a month. Therapy has really empowered me to take charge of my life and my happiness, and to make decisions that align with who I am, and make those decisions confidently. I just wish that I was able to talk to somebody who was able to support me and help me in the way that I did when I turned 28. In my early 20s. I say, oh, I wish I'd done this in my 20s. I don't mean that in a regretful way. I mean it in more of a reflective way. I'm just thinking like all the things that had happened to me in my 20s. Like, I lost somebody really important to me while I was in college, and I didn't get help for that. And if I would have gotten some grief counseling, or I just seen a therapist in general, that would have really helped me, because I was dealing with a lot of complicated grief that just really messed with everything. My daily functioning, my depression, my anxiety. It just made everything way worse, because I wasn't able to truly... There's no good or bad way of grieving, but there are ways to manage your grief and the stress that comes with grief, the depression that comes with grief, and I did not do that properly. If you have been to therapy and you feel like therapy is not working for you, whatever, you don't find it helpful, I would say to look at two things. The first one that I always ask people is, are you ready to change? Because if you are not ready to change, therapy will not be useful for you. I mean, you might learn some things that you can apply later on in life, but when you're really truly ready to put in the work, because it's hard. Change is so hard. Change is so hard. Like I said, I've been in therapy for 2 years. I didn't really truly see a change until a year and a half into therapy. It's not a one and done quick fix kind of thing. So you really have to want to change, and you have to put in the work to change. with my therapist. It wasn't just her giving me things to do and then me going about my way and not actually applying it in my life. Made sure that my journey in healing was my own and I didn't put the onus on my therapist to fix me. Do you actually want to change? Or do you just want somebody to vent to about your issue? And that's okay too. There are 5 stages of change and most people are stuck on the first stage of change because change is so hard and most people don't even recognize that they need to change. The next thing I would say is you probably need to increase your frequency of seeing the therapist. So if you're currently seeing a therapist and you feel like it's not working, you probably need to see them more frequently. So if you're going every other week, switch it to every week. If you're going monthly, switch it to 2 times a month. You might need to change therapists to one that really aligns with your issues, what you need, and is specialized in what you need support in. Really, like I said, I really believe therapy has completely changed my whole life, my whole perspective. Bad, like this year hasn't been all good at all. No year is, right? We can have good years, but there's still bad moments within that year. But it not to the point where I'm not able to appreciate the good. Through the bad, I'm able to go through the bad things that happened and feel it and go through the motions, but I'm not stuck there. That's what used to happen to me in my 20s. I would just feel so stuck in my emotional state, especially if it was a negative state. I never stayed in a positive state for a long time, but my negative state of emotions, oh my God, I lived there. That was my home. That was my comfort zone. And I don't feel like that anymore. When something unpleasant happens to me, I deal with it. I process the emotions. I let myself feel it. You always should let yourself feel it. And then I apply my tools that will help me move on from the situation while still acknowledging that it happened, right? And still get back to my baseline where I'm still fulfilled. I'm still content. I'm still happy. What's really made a shift in my life is that, and then I don't go through life thinking that something bad is going to happen to the point where I'm not enjoying the good. Like my baseline now is like, things are good and that's okay, and my life can be good, and there's not something always looming behind me that's going to be bad. And if something bad happens, I don't tell myself, see, that was the bad thing that was going to happen. No, bad things just happen and that is okay. Good things happen too. You know, that's just the ebbs and flows of life. And so yeah, that would be my first lesson. I'm yapping so much I forgot to tell you the product. So this is the Fenty Beauty Concealer in 445N, and then I applied my Say Beauty bronzer in deep browns, and I'm just gonna blend it out with my beauty blender while I talk about the next lesson, which is it will get better if you want it to. And this kind of ties in a little bit with the therapy portion, but the one thing I used to always say to myself is that that's how I am. There's no reason to change it. I would justify the way that I treated myself, people, the way I dealt with situations with, that's just the way I am. If you are in your 20s and you have that mindset, it's going to really be helpful for you if you change that mindset, because you can change. You are able to change. The only thing constant in this life is change. And that includes your ability to change some personality traits that are static, right? Like I'm an introvert. I like my alone time. That's really never going to change for me. But there are other personality traits though that I have shifted, that I have changed. When I shifted my perspective into I can change, I'm willing to change, and I want to change, that's when the real shift happened. That's when the real work started. That kind of mindset doesn't allow room for growth. And if you want to grow and you want to be better and become better, you have to be open to changing and stop saying to yourself, that's just who I am. There's nurture and then there's nature. For a lot of people, a lot of their personality and who they are and how they respond to things is not based on their nature. It's based on their nurture. And so that's a good thing actually, because that means that it's not stuck and that you can change it. Number 3 I used to be such a perfectionist. I wanted to do everything when the time was right. I wanted to always present as my best self. So when I wasn't feeling well, or when I was in one of my depressive moods, or depressive episodes, I would hide, because there was just so much shame associated with not being perfect and not looking good, not feeling good all the time. So I missed out on a lot of opportunities to grow, and also opportunities to be with others, because I wasn't my best self. Really contributed a lot to my distorted thinking and the way that I viewed my life. So I would do something, but if I didn't do it like perfectly, or if I didn't master something right away, to me, in my head, that didn't count. My therapist, I was like, I never do anything good. These were like my negative thoughts. I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that. And she would challenge those thoughts, and then we would go through like what was real and what was not. Nobody is perfect. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, nobody is, and you can never be perfect. It's a myth. It's never going to happen. You're never going to be perfect. You can be prepared, you can be great, you can be good, but you can never be perfect. And if you struggle with perfection, I would say, which would be my next lesson, is that do the hard things. Do the hard things and allow yourself to fail. I recently was on TikTok, and this girl was talking about how her goal for the year is to be rejected 1,000 times down. But in doing that, she was actually able to get more yeses than nos, because she just wasn't afraid of failing. She wasn't afraid of being rejected. Rejection is one of those things that is really hard for everybody, but it's actually the way that you grow. Perfection is not the way that you grow. It's from failing and learning from your mistakes. Or can't wait for the perfect time. You cannot wait for you to be perfect. Miss out on so many things and so many opportunities trying to be perfect when you can never be perfect to begin with. Of my bronzer on my eyelids. I've just been yapping. I forgot to tell you guys the products and what I'm doing. So this is my base. Next, I'm going to apply more concealer. I don't use foundation, just concealers. And I'm going to apply these two Lancome concealers. The Tint Dog concealer, all over concealer. And I'm in the shade 120, which is a lighter shade, and 495. W. So I'm gonna apply that. Am I missing a step? I feel like when I'm talking and I'm doing my makeup, I feel like I'm like missing a step, but I don't think I am. We're gonna apply this underneath the eye, the darker shade. Just gonna apply it underneath my eye. Oh, I know what I'm forgetting. I'm gonna take my Danessa Myricks. This is the blurring balm powder, but this is the tinted one in number 9, and I'm just gonna apply that in the places where I did not apply concealer. Oh, the next lesson is my favorite one. I saw this great quote on Twitter. I don't know where it originated from, but at the time it just resonated with me so much. And the quote was, "Don't borrow grief from the future." To be where your feet are. I never wanted to be where I was. I never wanted to be in the present. I lived in the future. I constantly lived in the future, and I would always think about things will be better once I get to this. Things will be better once I do this. Things might be really hard for you in that moment. However, if you're constantly escaping to the future, you're never going to appreciate the moments and the good things that are happening in the moment. And that was like, that resonated with me so much, because I would constantly have anxiety about the future and getting to the future and working towards the future. And making goals for the future is great, but you can't live there all the time. You have to live in the present, where you currently are and where things are actually happening, right? You can't always live for the future, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. You might get the things that you're wanting, you might not. You might get the things that you're wanting and not be happy with it. Having a greater appreciation for your current self and the work that they're putting in to sustain the life and maintain the life that you currently have, while also working to give you a better future. That right there has really, really changed my life. Is I feel that it doesn't matter what I'm going through currently, I don't live in the future. I make plans for the future, I set goals for the future, of course, but I don't live there anymore. I don't even really visit. I don't constantly think about, oh my god, what my life is going to be once I do this or that. Or no, it might cross my mind a little bit about like, okay, this is the goal I want to accomplish. It's going to make my life look like X, Y, and Z. But then I go and I live my current life. And I appreciate all the work that current Doucette is putting in to maintain and sustain this life that I'm currently living. Because at one point, I was dreaming of this life. I was dreaming of this current version of myself, and I want to enjoy it. I've spent so much of my days, my 20s, just thinking about, oh my god, I can't wait to be older. I can't wait to be 25. I can't wait to be 26. Got to 26, didn't enjoy it. Got to 27, didn't enjoy it. Got to 28, didn't enjoy it. Got that better job, didn't enjoy it. Got out of a situation I didn't want to, still didn't enjoy it. Because I was always thinking about the next thing. Constantly wanting more, and you're constantly wanting more. When you stop and really enjoy your life, you realize that, dang, I accomplished all these things and I never got to enjoy it because I was always looking for the next thing, because I wanted to live in the future instead of the present. My next lesson is to ask for help. You will be amazed with how far you will get in life when you ask for help. More people than not are actually willing to help you. I know for a lot of people, having bad experiences with asking for help and then people either saying no or helping you but then making you feel small, encourage you to not let that harden you, even though it is hard, and continue to ask for help. I started asking for help, my life became life just felt lighter. Life felt better because it made me feel less alone in this world, that somebody else was willing and able to help me. It made me feel more connected with people. It made me more appreciative of people, and it really helped me grow as a person. And the reason why I encourage you to keep asking for help even when you've been burned before is because there's this thing that happens is when you do something and you have a negative experience from it, and you stop doing that thing because of that negative experience, the only thing your brain remembers is that negative experience. You have nothing else to combat that negative experience with. So for example, if I ask for help 50 times and 2 times people said no or threw it back in my face, cool. But I will also have 48 times that people did say yes and that people did help me and it was a great experience. If I would have stopped asking for help after that second rejection, I wouldn't have had the 48 experiences that were good, that were helpful, and helps combat a lot of those negative feelings and emotion towards asking for help the more you ask for help. The next lesson is something that I was doing in my 20s but did not recognize that I was doing this until years later when I reflected on this. I think it was in therapy that you have to trust in yourself and the direction that you want to go in life. And let me explain that. So when I was going to school, I originally wanted to go to school and become a doctor. I said this when I was younger, that I wanted to be a doctor. I've always been very smart. School is literally the funnest thing for me, but also the very easy for me. Like, it's always come very easy for me. So I was like, cool, I want to be a doctor. I said this when I was like 5 years old. And then I took a psychology class in high school and I fell in love. And I was like, I don't want to be, you know, a doctor anymore. I want to major in psychology. And my parents, my mom specifically, she was mortified. And she had everybody call me and try to talk me out of going to school for psychology. And so I really struggled with, for a long time in college, if I wanted to keep pursuing being a doctor, or if I wanted to follow my heart and my gut and become a therapist. And it took a lot of going back and forth until I realized I do want to be a therapist. That is my calling. That's what I want to do. And there's more examples of like me really following what's in my heart and what I feel is the right path for me versus what others are telling me to do with my life. I think that your parents and your friends and everybody around you mean well when they're trying to point you in a certain direction because they think you're going to make more money or you're going to be happier or whatever. But I truly believe that everybody has this thing inside of them that will point them in the direction that they need to go with their life, and they need to trust that. And it is very hard to trust that when you don't have a lot of trust in yourself to begin with. And that's why I say I really didn't realize I was doing this until years later, because I didn't always trust myself and my ability to make decisions. But the one thing I always did was, when it came to my life, it came to things like having a family, getting married, picking a career, I would only listen to myself when it came to those things. I would only trust in my gut and my intuition about who and what I wanted to be and how I wanted to go about that, even when I didn't have the support and I wanted the support and I needed the support, you know, from my family. I think, I come from an immigrant household, and this is something that is very hard if you want to do something that's outside of medicine or law. I always thought about it like, I have to live with myself. I have to get up and go to this job every day. I have to live this life. And if I don't make a decision that aligns with who I am and what I want to do and how I want to live, and I end up being unhappy because of that, I really can't blame anybody but myself. And so I have to make that decision for myself, even when everybody around me is telling me that I should do something different. So I picked psychology. I went to school for psychology. I graduated. I got my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, and now I'm a therapist, and it's yielded great results for me. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with the direction of my life. I'm happy with my career. I feel fulfilled. I remember shadowing doctors in Spain in 2019, and that's what I knew I did not want to be a doctor. But my first session as an intern, with the client as an intern, as soon as I started applying my therapy skills and I was in that session with that therapist, with that client, it became apparent to me that this was my calling. It was what I was put on this earth to do. Not saying, there's not other things that I can do with my life, or I'm not good at other things, but that's like one of the things I feel like is always in me. It was always my path. If I did not arrive at that path right now, I would have arrived at that path somewhere later in life. And I'm so glad that I chose to listen to myself and I arrived at it now, because it's brought me so much joy and it's made me feel so complete to know I made this decision and it ended up being the right decision in the direction that you want for your life versus listening to everybody else. Like I said, they mean well, but nobody knows you as well as you know yourself. Last lesson, which is it will happen for you when it's your time. When you are in your 20s, sometimes it can feel like everybody around you is accomplishing things and you're not. No matter, and this is outside of you know, trying, right? So like, it doesn't matter what I do or how much I try, I can't keep up. And you start comparing your life to other people, like, they have this thing that I've wanted and I've been working towards and I don't have it. Like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not getting these things? And that is something I struggled with so much in my 20s. This idea that I was unlucky, that was like my biggest like negative self-talk, and that good things just didn't happen to me. But it happened for everybody else. I would look at everybody around me, not just like on social media, because I see real life examples of that, like co-workers, friends, family, things like that. I would be like, well, why isn't this thing happening for me? Why am I not, you know, as far ahead as all these people in my life? And I just had to realize that if you believe in God and God wants me to have something, I will have that thing. Another piece of that I did not recognize until maybe like a year ago is that the universe, God, whatever you believe in, isn't going to give you the thing that you want if you don't show that you are ready for those things. Why would God or the universe give you the opportunity if you're not showing up in the way that you need to be, right? And so for me, it was less about like the work that I was putting in, and it was more about, now that I look back, it was more about my ability to actually enjoy the things that I had or the things that I was accomplishing, right? I really felt like God I accomplished a lot and I did a lot, but the big things that I wanted out of life, I wasn't ready for because I wasn't going to appreciate it. That was just the plain and simple, because I had accomplished so much and God had blessed me with so much, and I was constantly telling myself that it wasn't enough when it was enough, right? And as soon as I made that mindset shift and I started appreciating where I was, what I was accomplishing, the work, the blessings that God had put in my life, I started to see, I started to attract more abundance. Soon as I put pen to paper and I would write down, okay, I want to accomplish this thing, it happened for me. Like, it was so crazy. Like last year, for example, when I was finishing my master's degree at the end of the year, I was telling everyone to get a particular job, and it was very specific with the things that I wanted, and they were basically like, everybody told me like, it's really hard to get a job like that just starting out. But I was like, God is going to bless me with the type of job that I want, because I've been putting in the work and showing him that I'm ready and willing to receive that kind of blessing. I was done with my classes in November. I walked the stage in January. I had that job secured, the exact job that I was telling everybody about, by the beginning of January. No, in December actually. It's happening for me the way that it was because I was at the point in my life where I was going to appreciate that blessing. We have come to the end of this video. I finished my makeup. This is what it looks like. If you made it to the end of this video and you're currently in your 20s, I want to know what are some lessons that you are learning right now, or in your 30s or late 20s. I want to know what are some of the lessons that you are realizing that you wish you knew sooner. Thank you so much for watching again. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.